We've only got one more week to go until the NRL Finals series kicks off, and here to dissect it all from a Queensland perspective, we're once again joining you on Queenslander. But today, Locky, no King. He's down there in Sydney filming an ad for the NRL and Maccas, so no doubt to having a few Big Macs.
And as Wally's done in the past, be some quality acting.
That's it, yeah.
Well, we're getting ready for the finals. The big guns are out.
Yeah, no doubt we'll see that on our screens on Channel 9 in the coming weeks, acting alongside Ronald McDonald, the statue, the last version. So we'll see how the new one turns out. But this weekend, massive game for your Broncos, Locky. Kicks off Thursday night footy, live and free here on Nine's Wide World of Sports, against the Storm. Why do they seem to have the mental edge over the Broncos? I think at Suncorp Stadium, they've only beaten them once since 2009.
Yeah, I think since the Storm... created their entity. You had a lot of Broncos influence that left and went to set up the Storm. Glenn Lazarus and Chris Johns was involved, John Reba.
Yeah.
So I just think ever since the inception of the Melbourne Storm, there's always been, it's a bit like a teammate, an ex-player playing against their old club. It just means more for Melbourne to play against the Broncos, and the records show that they've got the wood well and truly on the Broncos, and is there a mental, I guess, psychological advantage there? I think there's a small one. At the end of the day, you say, well, we're just playing another football team, but they've been so good for so long that you can't help but think when you're playing against Melbourne Storm that you're up against it.
How advantageous could it be for Broncos winning this game, knowing that they could play the Storm in the finals, and then in 2 weeks' time thinking, hey, we've beat these guys before, instead of prolonging this mental edge?
Well, you got to beat the best to win, right? And so this will be a good yardstick or a good indication of where the Broncos are at. If they could get a win and a big performance on Thursday, that'll be a massive shot in the arm for their confidence going into the finals. And like I said, it's probably, given what happened to Melbourne last week, that's probably worked against the Broncos. This will be the Storm at their best, and I think the Broncos, if they can test them and even win, then that's huge.
And it looks as though Jerome Hughes will be back for the Melbourne Storm from that dislocated shoulder, so a huge boost for them. So if the Broncos win, they'll guarantee themselves a place in the top four. If they lose, depending on what happens to the Warriors and the Sharks, they could be pushed down the ladder. But do you feel, given how wide open this competition, this could be the year someone can win from outside the top four? It seems more likely than in previous years.
It does, but I always look at the teams that are in the top four, and usually two out of those teams, well, not usually, but depending on the stadium, but two of those teams will play a prelim at their home ground.
Yeah.
And so if you look at Melbourne, week three, Canberra, week three, the Dogs, it'd probably nearly sell out.
Yeah.
Sydney, and then whoever finishes fourth, but, whether it's the Sharks or the Warriors.
Yeah.
And actually, the Sharks might not play a prelim at their home.
Yeah, it'd have to be played at a core Allianz. Yeah.
So I would say out of all of those, they're all tough assignments. Maybe the Sharks at Allianz is probably the one that I would be thinking you're a chance, but the rest are ridiculously hard. Yeah.
Do you think this Broncos side has the capability to win 4 straight if they finish outside that top 4?
Yes, I think the key is getting their defence in order.
Yeah.
I think we look at the points that they can score on the back of playing some free-flowing footy, as we saw against the Cowboys. I think that ability to do that puts them right into these games, these big games. But if they don't get their defence in order, then you're just not going to get those opportunities against the top teams.
Yeah, I think they need to embrace that style. That's when they're at the best, the Broncos. They've got so many points in them. Maybe, I know Michael Maguire doesn't like it. We saw that halftime spray there too. Maybe embrace it in the fact of okay, back ourselves to score 30 points.
I think you can just, with your attack, I think you have that mentality. But I think defensively, if you're going to throw caution to the wind with your attack, you've got to be willing to defend your errors.
Yeah, okay.
And so that's got to be your mentality, righto. If we play like that and we take some risks and it doesn't come off, then we've got to be prepared to defend those errors. And if you can do that and achieve that, then you give yourself a hell of a chance against the good teams.
Well, maybe hope that Ashley Klein refs the game too. What about that forward pass the other day for Billy Walters? That was dead set NFL style. I don't know how they missed that.
Yeah. Look, this forward passes.
I'm just a bitter Cowboy supporter.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it
didn't affect the outcome.
It didn't affect the outcome, but I agree. I mean, they missed that one. That was a mistake, but referees are human. Some days they're going to get it right, some days they're not.
Yeah, I think they find it hard when somebody makes a break and the players get in the habit too of slowing down, and then the person next to you is continually going fast. Whereas, like back in your day, when you were taught to stop, turn your shoulders, and pass the ball back, it's becoming more and more prevalent. But
there's some players out there that aren't used to being in the clear.
Yeah,
so they get all nervous
and can't figure out how to pass it.
Yeah.
Usually the best option is when the fullback makes the break because he's probably the fastest in the team and he's used to having that ball-playing ability to pass it back. Yep. There was that one on Sunday. You were at Suncorp Stadium. Grant Atkins picked up in the Titans game. I'm glad they got that when he stopped and passed it to Kinney right at halfway, which is definitely forward.
Yeah, well, who passed it to Kinney?
Was it Jalen de Groot, maybe?
No, it might have been Brian Kelly.
Oh, Brian Kelly it was, yeah.
Brian Kelly had the right idea. If he had Kinney come underneath him...
It was just a quarter of a second too.
Kinney was away.
Yeah.
So, but look, I reckon it's definitely going to happen throughout the final series. There's going to be a forward pass that was probably an incorrect call either way. It's going to happen. It's just part of the game.
Yeah. What do you make of that halftime spray from Madge? That's as animated as we've seen him all season. Or I guess we haven't had cameras in certain areas to see it, but what do you make of that blow-up?
I think that's just a bit of frustration. I guess you listen to Madge after the game in the press conference and he's always talking about building their game and getting an 80-minute performance. And I just don't think that we've got that out of the Broncos yet. If you ask most people, you would say that there's, at the moment, there's still something missing from the Broncos game to be, real contenders to win the premiership. But I think the frustration in Madge is he knows it's there.
Yeah.
If they can get it to click and get it right, then they're a real chance. And I think it's just a bit of frustration in him.
It looked as though the Cowboys sucked them into playing their own style. Like Madge pre-game warned them of this is almost a touch footy team that want to win 34-30, and they sucked them into their style.
Correct. 38-30 was the end score, and that's what the Cowboys have been doing all year. I've been saying the same thing about the Cowboys. Their attack's always there. They're always going to score points. They just haven't got their defence in order, and that's been the difference to where they are on the ladder to where they are now.
I think Reece Walsh was the difference in that game. If he doesn't play, the Broncos don't win. His ability to bust tackles for a little guy was just phenomenal in that game. I think he had a hand in all but one of their tries.
Well, with speed comes strength, and for all the risks that he takes, without Reece Walsh, the Broncos don't win.
Yeah. And what about Adam Reynolds? It sounds like, it has been reported he had a bit of a setback in his return from hamstring injury. He was potentially on track to come back this week. Now looks as though week one of the finals, maybe?
Yeah, I thought when I heard he was named 22 for the week just gone against the Cows, I thought, that feels a little bit early.
Yeah.
And obviously he's tweaked it a little bit in his recovery. So take another week off, Adam, and just wait. And, I guess, regardless of what happens on Thursday night, the Broncos will be playing finals. It's just where.
Yeah, and do you think maybe if they finish in the top four, it's a non-elimination final, do you potentially err on the side of caution and look at resting him until it becomes an elimination final?
Yeah, I would. I think just hamstrings are tricky. You've got to be patient with them. And there's a saying or a theory, once you feel like you're ready to go, wait one more week.
Yeah.
And like I said, I thought it seemed very early or premature for him to be named last week. So hopefully he can get it right. And when he does come back, he doesn't have any issues with it.
I can't remember, did you do your hammy during your career?
I did late in my career. I never really had a lot of soft tissue injuries, but late in my career, as you get older, you just tend to get a few niggles like that. So I had I had a couple late, yeah.
Yeah. While we're doing a trip down memory lane, is it too soon to ask you about your infamous finals match against the Storm? What was it, 2008, done on the bell at Suncorp?
I've never lost a big game like that in those circumstances. They're great to win in those circumstances, but a big game like that to lose was... I look back on my career, and if people ask what was the worst moment, I'd probably say that was the most. I guess it was just the most toughest moment in my career, just to digest what had happened. You know, given we were in the box seat to win the game, and they scored in the last dying seconds. They went on to
They made the grand final.
They made the grand final, but remember they lost Cameron Smith.
Oh, and Manly flogged them. Yeah.
Flogged them. So I'm not saying we would have done any better, but it was one of those games that, you look back and go, what if we had done this? What if we had done that? But not to be.
Yeah, it almost felt like an Origin game, like looking back, Suncorp Stadium, packed finals game.
Well, there would have been a lot of Origin players out on the field.
Yeah.
A lot from Melbourne, a lot from us, and I think Melbourne going into the game were the favourites, and we had them. It's just... Yeah, so, sorry, I'm not sorry, but why would you bring that up again?
Yeah. Well, one more on that. I'm going to test your knowledge. Can you remember the team? I'll go through, see how many positions. So I've got it written down here. I'm going to hide my homework from...
For the Broncos?
For Broncos, yeah. I'm not going to test you out on the Storm. That'd be too...
Was Carmichael there?
Yep, tick. Carmichael fullback.
Well, I remember Hodjo was outside me.
Yep.
I got up him for missing GI, and he got up me for running out of the line.
Hodjo, tick in the centres, yeah.
Peter Wallace.
Peter Wallace was your halves partner in the 7 jersey.
Sam Thaiday would have been out there.
Yep, Sam Thaiday, number 12, tick.
Was Denham Kemp?
Denham Kemp scored a try on the wing, yeah. The other winger.
Was there a Joel Moon?
Yep, Joel Moon was in the centres with Hodjo. So we just need to get the other winger who was... You played a lot with him at Origin level and Broncos.
Israel?
No. Went on to...
Darius.
Yep, Darius, that's it. So that's the back line sorted. So go the forwards. You got Sammy Thaiday was in the back row.
Was Mick Innes there?
Mick Ennis was the hooker, yep, you got that right.
There was...
Your bodyguard was the lock.
Oh, Tony Carroll, right?
Yeah.
Lock. So the edge back rowers would have been...
The edge back rower was a Queensland Origin player who transitioned into like the middle forwards, the back part of his career.
So I said Sam Thaiday.
Yeah, so he's one back row. The other back row was your goal kicking forward.
Oh, Corey Parker.
Yeah. So you got to get the two front rowers now.
There was Petro?
No, Petro didn't play in that game.
Injured.
Yeah.
Ashton Sims?
Ashton Sims was on the bench, so he was 15.
So Sam was one. Ben Hannett?
Yeah, Ben Hannett, yeah. So you just need one more starting prop who, I'm pretty sure he wasn't a Queenslander. He came to you from another club. Joel Clinton, that's it.
Yeah, right.
And then your bench was Mr. Reliable, Stagg on the bench, David Stagg, Greg Eastwood.
Oh, Easty, yeah.
And NK initials.
Nick Kenny,
there we go. There's the team. So Hunt, Boyd, Moon, Hodges, Kemp, Lockyer, Wallace, Hannett, Ennis, Clinton, Parker, Thaiday, Carroll, Staggs, Sims, Eastwood, Kenny. Fair team, that.
Yeah, because I remember Melbourne went down and played Cronulla.
Yeah.
Week, and everyone that gets knocked out in the final series always say, we could have beat them, you know. But anyway, it wasn't to be. It was a tough night and one I'll never forget.
Yeah, it's against the star-studded Storm team, the likes of Slater, Cronk, GI, Smith, and one of the most underrated Origin players of all time, Dallas Johnson.
Yes.
He was absolute rock for Queensland. While we're talking about that, let's keep it going with our tab big call. Last week I predicted the Cowboys to win. They just fell short against the Broncos. So what are we thinking this week?
Last week I was going the Dolphins by 20, but...
it looked like it after 15 minutes.
Like 18 minutes, yeah. Well, I thought I'm on. And I would pick, I think, Hammer to get a double, but he only got one. But he come off with a poked eye.
That was weird, hey?
Yeah.
Him coming off with the poked eye at half-time, yeah. But he...
So my tab big call, I was just looking at the draw. I think the Titans will be 13 plus at home against West Tigers. Titans get the wooden spoon though, don't they? But
Yeah, well, if they win and the Knights lose, because the Titans have a better for and against, I'm pretty sure. So if they win, they could avoid it.
There you go. I'm going to go Titans 13 plus, and they won't get the spoon.
Well, there we go, in Dez's last game. And also Kieran Foran's last ever NRL game too. What an absolute legend he's been for New Zealand, Manly, and now for the Titans. A bit of mail around for the Titans supporters too, so get excited about it. We're hearing there'll be 2 debutants. Carter Gordon, who's come from the Wallabies, and the Rebels in Super Rugby competition. He had that bad back injury, but he's made his return via the Queensland Cup. We're hearing he will make his debut. Not sure what position. If I had to guess, maybe in the centres, he's pretty versatile back. And another one, too, to get excited about, Cooper Bai. So the son of Marcus Bai, who you would have played against, Locky.
Yeah, he ran over me a few times.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, his son is going to run over a lot of players in the future. Opposite, he's not a winger, he's a middle forward. He's still a teenager, and he is an absolute giant.
Yeah. Well, Marcus wasn't that tall, but he was thick. And, I remember him coming down the sideline there at Olympic Park playing for Melbourne with the cowbell ringing, and I was fullback, and I'm going, oh, no.
He was almost the original Brian Toto. That's probably the most adequate comparison.
That's a great comparison.
So Cooper Bai, he'll stand out. He's a big middle forward. He'll have the headgear on. I've commentated a couple of his games for Tweed Seagulls this year in the Queensland Cup, so definitely watch out for him.
So I've gone 13 plus Titans, but I reckon Kinney will score a double.
Yeah.
He's a weapon.
They looked so much better when he was on the field the other day, yeah. So my tab big call is going to predict that week 1 of the finals we'll have the Broncos play the Dolphins. So the scenario that needs to play out is that the Storm will beat the Broncos and drop the Broncos to 5th, and either the Sharks or the Warriors win and get back into the top 4. And then with the Dolphins to get in, we need Wayne Bennett's Bunnies to beat the Roosters, and then the Dolphins win against the Canberra. If you stay with me, if that all takes place, 5th versus 8th is at Suncorp Stadium next week, the Broncos versus the Dolphins.
That's a big call.
Yeah.
It's a big call, but let's see. Let's see. It's a brave call.
Hopefully that is the case. So just on the Dolphins, what would you be feeling or thinking if you're a Dolphins player now? Because you need to rely on that result on Friday night, and then you go into that game not just needing to win, but potentially win by a margin. How hard would that be to differentiate winning the game by, say, we've got to win it by 14?
Well, it's one step at a time, isn't it? You've got to wait for the Roosters-Rabbits game.
Yeah.
Understand whether you're still alive. If you are still alive, then you've got to go in the game about a margin. I've never been in that situation before, but I think I'm not a big believer in focus on the process, not the outcome. I just think if you focus on getting your best performance, and that's doing your job individually and collectively, then that'll give you the best chance of getting the scoreline you need.
How much would Wayne be loving this week? The book of feuds again, the Rabbitohs against the Roosters, their season's gone, the Rabbitohs can't make finals, but how much would they love to win to keep their arch rival out of the finals?
Yeah, well, to be honest, he loves this situation.
Yeah.
The big games, all the pressure's on the opposition, this particular game, the hype, the talk. He's one of his great assets is he just, when the bigger the game, the more relaxed he is.
Yeah.
So he just handles the occasion very well. Mind you, Trent Robinson's been to a lot of big games himself. So
yeah.
It's at Allianz, book of feuds, bit of talk around both teams all week. So, yeah, it's a pretty big game.
Yeah, and you'll catch that live and free on 9 on Friday night. In that situation, does Wayne get around like maybe 1 or 2 players and just think, hey, have a whisper into the ears, or like back in your day, like Gordon Tallis or someone like that, or Webke of like, hey, mate, we might need an extra 5% from you?
Yeah, I think there'd be an element of Wayne digging up some quotes or some old news clippings about what the Roosters over the years have said about the Rabbits. I think there'll be a way where he's found some motivational sort of pieces for the players. Like, yeah, it's that us versus them mentality. I reckon if you walk through the Rabbits Centre of Excellence, you'd see a few news articles on the wall.
Yeah, guarantee it. Wayne Bennett up to his old tricks this week. But regardless of what happens, Locky, I guess you've got to tip your hat to the Dolphins. I was looking through the stats. So they were 0-4 at the start of the year. So they were the last team to win a game at the start of this season. Every team in the comp had won a game before the Dolphins won a match, and to find themselves on the brink of the finals in the last week of the season. And also combine that were the team most affected by Cyclone Alfred. You think at the start of the year their season was derailed because they had that match against the Rabbitohs at Suncorp, had to be shifted last minute down to Sydney. They come back, then they had to base themselves in Newcastle for a week. So the opening 2 matches ended losses are on back foot, but they've done remarkably well just to get to this situation.
They're a resilient football team. You can see that in the coach and you can see that in the group, given the way they started the year, all the injuries they've had. Middle of the season they looked as good as a top 4 team.
Yeah.
Their defence and their attack. They've come off the boil a bit, whether that's just inexperience in some positions or whether it's just fatigue. But, I think they're building to be a really, really good football team.
Yeah, especially when you look at the injury toll they've had to deal with and the players who will come back in 2026 season. One of those players, Herbie. So talk that he's 50-50 to play on Sunday. If they're in contention, you think you've got to roll the dice and play him?
Yeah. If the Roosters get beat, then I think you have to play Herbie.
Yeah.
Maybe you take him, put him on the bench.
Yeah.
So if the game's in sort of the balance at the end and you need a bit of attacking flair like a Herbie Farnworth, then you put him on. He's just there as a
almost safety blanket kind of thing.
Like
an
ace up your sleeve.
Yeah.
But if you don't, the Raiders are resting a heap of players. Dolphins might not need him and he gets another week.
Yeah, and it kind of gives the rest of the team confidence too, seeing a guy like Herbie Farnworth, and he's so good out of yardage. I think they've missed that recently. Yeah,
one of the conundrums for the Dolphins is, it's a bit like what happens down the Gold Coast is, if Herbie comes back, then does Hammer go straight back to fullback? Because Fuller's been almost their best player.
Yeah.
But you got to somehow, I reckon you could put him on the bench, Fuller, and just use him. Because even though he's little, he runs with plenty of authority, and you could use him as an extra forward. Just got to find a place to defend him.
Yeah, he did phenomenal again with that run he made at Suncorp Stadium to set up Hamiso Tabuai-Fida. Do you think, looking at the Dolphins moving forward, is there a position they need to strengthen to kind of help Isaiah Katoa around him?
Yeah, it's a good question. I probably think they've got Finay Fuaki, who's injured at the moment. Then I just don't know whether they have some good structure out wide, but I don't know whether they're using their back rowers enough. I think there's a lot of great play around Katoa, but I just think their edge back rowers have probably not been as effective as they could be. I know they're capable. They're probably just not using them enough. Yeah, and the contributing factor that would be such chopping and changing. They've had to deal with who they started off at the beginning of the season, the likes of Tom Gilbert and that, and they've had to bring in that Oren Qlder, who's been really impressive, and then commonly Lemuelu, who's been back and forth there. And yeah, it's a hard one to really judge them on because there's been so much chopping and changing. Yeah. But I feel like they've got a good solid forward pack. They've obviously got a great halfback. They've got plenty of speed out wide. Just not seeing enough. I know there's enough talent there. I'm just not seeing enough on the edges with their back rowers at the minute. Yeah, and I think to back up dummy half is a position they need to strengthen. Again, it falls back to their injuries, and I think next year when they're Mr. Fix-It Kurt Donahue, when they get all their players back, Donahue will be that 14 who can fill in anywhere and give Jeremy Marshall-King a bit of a break, and you can get more spark out of dummy half Marshall-King. If they don't end up making the finals this year, Locky, how do you think Wolf will reflect on his first season? Well, I think it'd be an opportunity miss because they got themselves, in a really good position on the ladder. They were playing some great football. And, you look in the last month of footy, they had 60 put on them against the Roosters, and then they had 58, I think, against Manly. Yeah. So even the Broncos game, they should have beaten the Broncos and they fell away. And then you look at the game on the weekend against the Titans, scored plenty of points, but let a heap in too. So I just think opportunity missed, but where they've fallen away is their defence. Yeah. But regardless, it'll be overwhelming success for Wolfie first year as a coach, replacing Wayne Bennett, which is always a tough act to follow. I get the sense that Wolfie could be like a 10-year plus coach
at the Dolphins, really build something special, likes of what Bennett did at the Broncos or Trent Robinson or at the Storm? I just kind of get that feeling how much the players love him.
I think he's a really good coach. I've said it before. I think he's destined eventually to win a premiership. He's got a good temperament. He really cares for his players, and the players respond to him. He's probably the last month he's gone through a bit of a testing time, but he had that at the start of the season too. So he's probably learning more right now. But I think overall, if they don't play finals this year, I think there's a positive feel about where the Dolphins are going.
Yeah. At halftime last week's game at Suncorp Stadium against the Titans, so I was doing the sideline commentary for Triple M. So as soon as halftime came, I quickly ducked off to go to the toilet at the back entrance to Suncorp Stadium, and Wolfie was coming down with his assistant coaches, and I've never seen him look so red and angry with steam coming out of his ears. Because remember, they were up 18-0 after 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Then it was back to 18-all, and it was like, he's a genuinely nice guy, but he looks intense at the best of times. But seeing him walk into the sheds looking like that, has a mean look on his face.
Yeah, well, again, I reckon that I interviewed a couple of players pre-game, and the focus was defence, right?
Yeah.
And so you get out to 18-0 and then let the opposition get back to 18-all, I think.
It was.
Like that would be frustrating.
Yeah, sometimes that's the worst thing that can happen in a game you need to win, where you get off to the fast start and put the foot off the pedal.
Sometimes that really early try is sometimes the worst thing for your team.
Yeah. I think they scored after 2 minutes in that game. Well, before we wrap up today's show, Cowboys and Titans fans, stay tuned because we'll do a bit of an end-of-season review of them. So Cowboys' last game of the season was last week against the Broncos. They have the bye, whereas the Titans, as Locky mentioned, wrap it up on Saturday at Cbus Super Stadium against the West Tigers. What mark do you give those teams this season?
Well, I'll probably give the Cows a 4.
Out of 10? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, a pass mark's 6, isn't it? So they don't pass, it's a 4, and I'd give the Titans a 3.
Yeah. Well, I've gone A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Oh, okay, we're doing that, okay.
But we can go out of 10. So yours is out of 10, and I'll mix it up. So I'm going to give the Cowboys a C-. So to me, a C is a pass mark. They've failed the season. And I'm going to give the Titans an F because they got the wooden spoon. And you look at that side.
I've predicted they won't.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. Yeah. Sorry, Titans fans. Yeah. If they do win the wooden spoon, it looks as though they win. Did you see outside the Lord Alfred Hotel in Caxton Street on Sunday? So they had like this big 2-metre wooden spoon with Desi's face on it, which is the Dolphins pub on the edge of the Caxton Street there. So a bit of a cheeky swipe at Des. I think we had it in one of our 9 News packages that night. Could you argue, though, that the Cowboys season is more disappointing given the talent they've got in their roster?
I think there's always a fair bit of talent in the Titans as well.
Yeah.
I don't know how to. It's the Titans. We seem to at the end of every year, regardless of who the coach is, regardless of the playing group, we're saying the same thing about it.
Yeah.
Like it's weird.
Yeah, it's really disappointing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's this sort of mentality of, I wouldn't say they're accepting mediocrity, but it just seems to be a part of the club there that they need to find a way to snap out of that, right? Because it just, like I said, but regardless of who's coaching or the playing group, it seems to be the same outcome every year. And so they need to find a way to really shift that mentality if they're going to fix it. Now, for the Cowboys, for me, I think another disappointing season. I think they show signs of a really good team there, but defensively, there's too many lapses. So, again, in the off-season, I'd be finding ways to try and fix those lapses in defence. Obviously, I think the big part of that is getting your team and your players as fit as possible, get them mentally toughened up by doing a hard off-season. I'm sure the Titans will be in the same boat. So when you're under fatigue, you're not making errors with your decisions in defence.
I guess with the Titans, the issue they have, there's no legacy at the club. I know they've been around, 20 years now, whereas you go play for the Broncos, even when you started at the Broncos, okay, I've got to live up to the standard that Kevy Walters set and Alan Langer set, and Wally Lewis wore the jersey that I used to wear. Or even at the Cowboys, Jonathan Thurston played for this club, one of the greatest players of all time. I have the honour of doing that. The Titans don't really have that. So I think they've got to re-establish their identity and find their own legacy, which is the missing link.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think when you come into a football club, and if that club hasn't already achieved success like a premiership, well then, is that different to them when you walk into a Melbourne Storm or a Brisbane Broncos? Of course it is.
Yeah.
The success the clubs have had. So I think that's a very valid point, but it's now Josh Hayes, I guess, question is how does he fix that?
Yeah. Well, even the Dolphins, to me, I'll always remember the Dolphins' first ever game. They had the line in the sand moment against the Roosters. Roosters heavy favourite. Felice Kafusi comes out, flattens Brandon Smith and a few other blokes, and they win. So it's forever entrenched in your memory of like, these guys are tough, resilient side. They ain't going to give you an inch. So they need that kind of seminal moment in their history, which is lacking for the Titans at the moment.
I think the little difference there with the Dolphins is even though the Dolphins in the Q Cup. Which
I guess so, yeah.
There's been a lot of success there. So that club's always had success.
Yeah.
And so even though the Dolphins is a different, I guess, entity to that, that club out there has very much, been a successful club for a very long time. And when you walk into those four walls with a history of where there's been premierships won at that level, then success is a part of their DNA.
Yeah, and add to that the fact that Wayne Bennett was their inaugural coach too, really strengthened the Dolphins from the get-go. As a Cowboys supporter, what's done my head in is how inconsistent they've been, because I'll look back through their season. So they played the Panthers twice and didn't lose. So if you said to me at the start of the season, the Cowboys are going to play the Panthers twice and not lose a game, I'm like, we're in the finals, baby, for sure. So they beat them down there. I think it was at CommBank Stadium because the Panthers Stadium's still being renovated. And then they played a really thrilling Golden Point draw in Townsville. So, like, how do you equate that of, like, the four-time defending premiers? You don't lose a game to them, but I guess it's those mental lapses that they really need to address.
And we've touched on this before throughout the year, but I do think, I reckon a lot of the points for the Cowboys has been leaked out wide.
Yeah.
And when you take Val Holmes and Cole Felt out of that line, you take a lot of experience, a lot of points, but equally those guys being experienced were very much good defenders as well.
Yeah.
So I just think that there's a bit of a, if I'm the Cowboys next year, obviously you want to go train hard, get fit, get myself mentally as tough as I can for the season coming up. But I think that defensive system out wide needs to be addressed.
And I guess words of wisdom too, having an experienced player. Like, we don't see it so much on TV as being able to hear it in a game. Like, how often would those guys be yelling at not yelling or talking to give the confidence to the players next to them? Yeah,
well, I think the younger players, they get their confidence out of the experience around them, right? And so, the experienced guys become almost like coaches in game because they're the ones that have been there, done that, and they're the ones that are, creating the voice and they're creating the intensity you need to perform at that level. So those players that have filled those positions, they'll get better with another year. But I think we underestimate when you take experienced players out of any team. It's going to have an impact. Yeah, and they're going to lose a fair bit more experience too because Reece Robson, that was his last game. He's going to the Roosters. And Jordan McLean retires. Wonderful career for him, a premiership winner for the Melbourne Storm. I think 2017 he was part of their grand final success, ironically, against the Cowboys. Jason Taumalolo was really good the last couple of weeks. He really got into the Broncos that game. I think that's probably the best I've seen him for a while. Yeah. I reckon there's obviously been a lot of talk about his contract and a lot of talk about his impact on the team. And I think he had a point to prove. And I reckon the last month of football up there, I think he proved a point. And it looks as though Todd Payten is safe, even as a Cowboys supporter. I don't think getting rid of Todd Payten was the answer to their problems, based on the fact that he's taken to the finals 2 of the last 3 years, where they've won multiple finals games there too. But it looks as though they'll restructure the coaching staff around him, new assistant coaches, just to kind of freshen up the group. Kind of like you would have been at the Broncos when Wayne did that, when Kevy left and who was the other assistant coach? Was it Lazo that year? Yes, yeah. It really has an effect on everyone? Oh, of course it does. I mean, I guess that's a very tough call for Wayne, given that he coached those two players to multiple premierships and legends of the club. So I think from memory we missed 04. Well, we played finals 04 and 05, but we went out in straight sets both years. Yeah. We'd won in 92, 93. No.
2000?
Yeah, I'm
98 and 2000, yeah.
I guess the point is there was a lot of pressure on the club in 2006 and, and I think Wayne made some decisions. He decided to freshen up the playing group by making changes to the coaching, I think Gary Belcher might have been...
Yeah, Badge was there, yeah.
Yeah, so... which is, it's difficult on the individuals that get delivered that message. We've got no doubt. In the end, it proved to be a good call by Wayne because we won the premiership.
Yeah.
6,
Well, lastly, on the Cowboys and Titans, put yourself in the position of Todd Payten and Josh Hannay next season. What excites you the most about leading into 2026?
Well, Keanu Kinney for the Titans.
Yeah.
I know Kieran Foran's retiring, but Kinney, and then you've got to find a spot for Brimson. Well, I guess maybe he goes into the halves with AJ. Sorry.
With Jaden.
With Jaden. I still reckon AJ can make a great hooker. But I think, obviously, a new coach with Josh Hannay, I think that's going to freshen the group up. A new approach, a new look. And if they keep those, their best players fit, I think they'll have a much better year.
Yeah, and for the Cowboys, no doubt exciting to see the involvement of Jackson Purdue after starting off at the centres where his future lies. I think one thing that the Cowboys can do in the off-season, go out to JCU, the Sport and Exercise Science, and try and find a way to clone Tom Dearden. If they can clone Tom Dearden, have 17 Tom Deardens, geez, that'd be good.
Well, Reid Marnie's going there, isn't he?
Yeah.
So I think he's very similar to a Reece Robson, but I think he's got a point to prove, Reid Marnie. So I think he'll go up there and he'll train the house down, and I reckon he'll be out to have a big year. I reckon he'll play particularly well against the Bulldogs.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if they're quite active in the player market in the off-season, the Cowboys, with quite a few positions to fill. So still plenty of excitement ahead for your fellow Cowboys supporters to help me out. But before we go, Locky, right now as it stands, who do you reckon? Who wins the comp? We'll take the Broncos out of it, take the bias aside. Who do you think?
The Raiders.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I just think they've been the best team all year, and that doesn't always mean you're going to win the grand final, but I think they'll get rested this week.
Yeah.
They'll go down first week in Canberra. The big horn will be on.
Yeah.
And they will be extremely hard to beat that round. And then they'll get a week off. They'll have a prelim in Canberra. Like, it just doesn't get any bigger. I think they make it to the grand final. Then they'll have a good run in and they'll deserve to win the GF. Yeah,
I'm starting to come around on the Raiders too. Quite a few Queensland links in that side. Josh Papali'i, who helped us out so fittingly in the Origin side, and Jamal Fogarty. Like, imagine if he wins a premiership, how wonderful a change that has been of a guy who's Queensland Cup journeyman, couldn't really get a start, and now he's led the team to a minor premiership.
That's another example. If you're willing to persist and work hard, anything's achievable. Yeah,
and his Queensland Cup club, Burleigh Bears, in action. The Queensland Cup finals start this weekend. So Burleigh Bears, congratulations to them. They're minor premiers. They take on Wynnum North Devils, who are the Penrith Panthers of the Queensland Cup, aiming for another title against Townsville Blackhawks. Ready Dolphins up against PNG Hunters. And the game you'll catch on 9 now, Sunday afternoon. People always come up to me and say, how can we watch Queensland Cup on Channel 9? You can watch it on the 9 Now app, Sunday afternoon, 2 o'clock. The elimination final from the Sunshine Coast, the Falcons. You'll see a few Storm contracted players in that one against the Ipswich Jets. I think first time in almost a decade the Jets are in the final. So 2 p.m. Saturday, but make sure you have your TV tuned into Channel 9 on Thursday night if you can't get to Suncorp Stadium. What a blockbuster. Finals come early. The Broncos against the Storm. As always, thanks for joining us. Locky will be back next week, and we'll have the King to preview the NRL Final Series. Thanks for joining us again.